The Surfing Violinist presents Good Tips and Bad Notes, Violin Vlog 52. Carlos and Cindy have been fixtures at Anthony Peebles gigs over the years, and since I started solo gigging, they've become pretty regular audience members for me too. They both have always been super encouraging and have some great requests. They've introduced me to a lot of new music. Carlos's number one jam at present has been Zombie by the Cranberries, and every time I play it, it seems to be really well received. Carlos started off the April gigs with a request for Baba O'Reilly, and then a family sat in the front, and they were really supportive as well, all three coming up with unique requests from Chicago to Metallica's Unforgiven to Selena's I Could Fall in Love, which worked great on violin. And because they were so enthusiastic, I even played Devil Went Down to Georgia for them, not one I normally do, in the Bergen Barrel setting. The gentleman was so stoked he tipped me a $100 bill, which is not normal, and really made my night. I also got a request for Willie Nelson's Always on My Mind, which I played, maybe it was the next night, but some gig after that, I believe, that an audience member was so moved she apparently almost cried. Another request I would not have thought of on my own, but one that worked wonderfully. In March and April both, I got a lot of Lindsey Sterling requests, so I added more of her originals to the repertoire, but I'm not really nailing them. Audiences have been very gracious with my attempts, and sometimes the audience just wants to hear a version, even if it's not perfectly executed. There was a lot of love for soundtracks in April, including Last of the Mohicans, Pirates of the Caribbean, and of course, Bond tunes, my latest kick, which I've continued because they seem to be well received. Also on April 5th, the Hatcher clan showed up and showered me with some really good requests. They've just had some really good ones, been very supportive, very generous in the tipping. So we did some sleuthing to find some new tunes to play. On Friday, April 11th, a bride-to-be who was interested in having me play for a wedding came with a giant list of requests, and I tried most of them. They were stoked on what I was playing, and it was actually fun. Auditions are usually not fun, and trying to hammer down a song list for a wedding can be sometimes difficult, but doing it live at a regular gig with the vibes of Bergen Barrel was great. They were really cool, and I added some new songs as a result. On Saturday, April 12th, I walked in early to find Bergen Barrel had been taken over by a group of ladies, like it was officially occupied territory. 10, 15, 20, I don't know. So normally this kind of situation can be suboptimal for the musician, but this crew was so supportive and energetic, and it ended up being one of the funnest sets I've ever played. One of the ladies just grabbed my tip jar and went around soliciting for me. There was another group of ladies in the front not connected, but just as enthusiastic, and when they requested Sweet Caroline, Bergen Barrel turned into a full-on group karaoke bar, and I basically became a conductor leading the singing. Normally, again, this is not what I'm signing up for, but they were all really fun. I got a request for Purple Rain by Prince, and I was just floored by how well that worked on violin and how much everyone loved it. The big group of ladies were joined by their significant others, one of whom happens to be a singer, and we did a duet of Brown Eyed Girl, and then I played the theme to Cheers, which also became a choir practice tune. Just wild, but a really fun night. Well, really fun until the end. So more groups filtered in and out, and again, they were just all so into it, really tipping well, great requests, very interactive all night. One group at the front really loved my Bond cover, so I played past the 10 p.m. cutoff. It was probably 10:20 or so. And I was playing extra just because that particular group was so into it. And I was going to play a few more for them when a lady came up and said that it sounded great, but could I turn it down? Yeah, 10:20 at a bustling bar with significant room noise on a Saturday night. When one of the ladies on the couch heard that this lady had asked me to turn it down, she let the woman have it. It felt really good to have the audience cross-heckle a heckler. On Friday, April 18th, the Italian request train continued with The Prayer by Bocelli and Somos Novios. Melissa Day has been one of the most enthusiastic TSV requesters for well over a year, and she came with a whole iPhone's note list. I did not make it through all of them, but with her example and that of the bride-to-be with lists on napkins, it's making me think it might be time to formalize and streamline the requesting process because this makes it so much easier. A lot of times it's hard to hear what someone is requesting above room noise, and often spelling can be an issue, so just having it written down makes it a bit easier. Warren, Lindsay, Pat, and Tina stopped by, and Warren asked for Santo's favorite song I cover, the Anders Thu arrangement of Iggy Pop's The Passenger. He shared later that famed free surfer Ozzie Wright used this song as a soundtrack to a surf video part in Volcom's surf movie 156 Tricks. So that was a cool connection I didn't know about. On Saturday, April 19th, the day before Easter, it was super mellow, but the requests were really good. Almost just like some friends taking turns sharing the aux cord. Started out with Jesse and Candy's family introducing me to some great tunes that were new to me, including I'm Getting Sentimental Over You and My Cup Runneth Over. Went down the Italian track list for a bit, which made me wonder if some incidental music from Kiki's Delivery Service might work well on violin, and the tune A Town with an Ocean View was perfect. Other great requests that night included the Ink Spots, I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire, Sinatra's It Was a Very Good Year, and the Beatles' Across the Universe. On Thursday, April 24th, Anthony Peebles played a solo at Bergen Barrel, and it was a record-setting night. He was back in town for a wedding, and everyone turned up out of the woodwork. It was great to hear his voice again and hear a few favorites. I was looking forward to playing with him during our first gig in months, which was scheduled for the following Sunday at Little Village. On Friday, April 25th, I finally was properly introduced to Matt Lee, who had been showing up with some great requests over the last couple months. He's a ripped biker dude, and I come to find out he's a dynamite saxophonist, like Billboard recording artist level with his own original stuff. You just never know who you're playing for. That night I had great requests from Matt, Garland, Seth, and Warren, and Lindsay. We had everything from the Beatles to Chuck Berry to Lindsey Stirling to Nick Cave. Warren had asked for a few Nick Cave tunes, so we did test runs with Weeping Song and Where the Wild Roses Grow. I think The Mercy Seat and Jubilee Street are going to take a bit more finesse than the stock MIDI backing track can offer. On Saturday, April 26th, I was booked for a special event at Redfish Film Festival, a masquerade with the Fall of the House of Usher vibes. I played a lot of moody, hyper, verbed-out selections ending with a bunch of Radiohead, Lana, and the postmodern jukebox version of Black Hole Sun. It seemed to go over pretty well. Special thanks to Lex and Kevin at Redfish for including me. And then on Sunday, April 30th, I got to play with Anthony, Andrew, and Jeff at Little Village. And it was as much fun as I've had at a gig since I started this endeavor back in 2018. I levitated out of my skin more than once, almost broke my bow, broke a string. There were perhaps 5 too many shots of self-indulgence coursing through my veins, but the crowd seemed to enjoy it. Anthony is so magnetic that the crowd coaxed him into playing another hour. It was just a wild time. It really did feel like a fitting homecoming. I returned on Wednesday, April 30th for Vegan Night to play a much more mellow gig at Little Village. Mel was doing Deli Mellies and her fusion avocado flatbread was so good, by the way. More on that in the Masala vlog. My old school buddies Matt and Rob hung out for a bit and asked for Smashing Pumpkins and Tears for Fears. One lady in the audience asked for Zorba the Greek and a tune called The Lonely Shepherd. I still don't know if what I played was even close to the right thing, but both tunes were intriguing. My daughter showed up, and her and some of the younger crew had some really interesting requests ranging from Pierce the Veil and Deftones to anime and video games and Lumineers and Fleet Foxes, I believe. The best new discoveries were Never Meant to Belong from Bleach, and believe it or not, Club to Death as used in The Matrix. I've heard this tune many times, but was surprised that a working sheet music version was available on Music Notes, and was even more surprised by how baroque the solo instrument lines sound in it. It was quite a unique way to end a month of unique requests. In April, on Music Notes, I bought 90 total songs. Now, some of those were duplicates. I had a kind of hard time finding. Someone asked for Beethoven's Fifth, and I had a hard time finding a version that actually made sense on solo violin, like a reduction where you could actually hear the da-da-da-da. And then there was a Lindsey Stirling song that sometimes they give you like the practice version and it doesn't really translate when you're trying to play it with a backing track. So over 80 songs, 80 new songs added to the list, but 90 new bits of sheet music. So I don't know, every month I think we're adding more and more. I think it's going to get to the point where we're adding about 100 new pieces of sheet music a month. All requests considered. Until next time, keep it consistent, even if your muse isn't. To see these videos early, without ads, join the lineup here on YouTube. You just need a YouTube account, and for $1.99 a month, you click this little join button and sign up to get early and ad-free access to 4 monthly vlogs: the surf vlog, the violin vlog, the Masala vlog, and the family vlog. Thank you very much.